Hello, builders, parents, and collectors. On this episode of the Creation Evaluation Station, we are having an impromptu review of Black Adam. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so if you're not familiar with my channel, I do in-depth reviews of models and construction kits, both new and old, mostly Lego, but other products as well. I also do reviews of other creative works such as movies, video games, and cartoons. Before I get into this movie review, I want to just say something to my Lego superheroes, collectors, and builders out there. This movie had some really nice vehicles that would have made some fun Lego sets. I don't know if we'll get any or not. Normally they would already be out or coming out at the same time as the movie. Unfortunately, it's not really Lego's fault. It's more of, I believe, the pandemic's fault. A lot of the things have not been coming out on schedule and stuff like that. So our both Marvel and DC Lego sets have not been on the ball lately with the movie releases, although we have gotten the Wakanda Forever sets that have come out, but it's been pretty sparse recent years. But that aside, getting back to the movie. Now, there's not going to be any spoilers in this review, or I'm gonna do it spoiler free, except for the very little bit of end. I'm going to go on a rant, and I'm going to talk about spoilers there. It's the very end. Stick around for most of the video. It'll be a warning when I actually go and do it. And you actually probably won't miss much. All I will say in regards to that is don't watch the trailers if you haven't seen them yet. Just go watch the movie. Which you can listen to my review first. Because you're not going to be missing much and just skip the very end. So, this was a very good popcorn movie. On the surface, it was really good. It was enjoyable. I mean, a masterpiece by no means. It was trying to do some things which we'll talk about in a little bit. But overall, it was really fun to watch. Some great action, interesting characters. And that's very important. We're going to talk about that right here in a moment. And yeah, I suggest going to watch it if you like superhero movies. It was a good one. And let's move on. Get my notes here. Yeah, so what this movie did right. Well, it brings up an interesting topic. You may not be familiar with the Black Adam. I had heard of him, but I was not familiar with him either. And that's the thing. There's a lot of comic book characters out there. It's all great when there's a new Superman movie, a new Spider-Man movie. Everybody knows about that. In fact, they've gotten to the point, at least, with the last Spider-Man movie, they didn't even give us an origin story. They just jumped right into it. And at this point, it's fairly common knowledge. I mean, they are well-known comic heroes. Even people who aren't familiar with the comics knew of them and knew their general origin story. And now that they've had movies out there, even more so. Spider-Man's had the original trilogy there, so a new Spider-Man comes out, you don't need to rehash that, or you just do it in passing or whatever if it's related to the current story arc. But what do you do with new characters? Now, we've had several examples of this, and of both doing it right and not so doing it right. I would say that this film did it right. I will get more into that after I talk about some other movies first. So I started with Shazam. Shazam is definitely one, and it's DC and related. Most of my examples are Marvel, because DC hasn't gotten too far into the unfamiliar characters territory. They're getting there. Although DC's had problems as of late trying to get going like the Marvel Cinematic Universe has. So yeah, Shazam, I have not watched Shazam. I've only seen the trailers for it, and even from the trailers, and this you can do with the trailers. We'll talk about that at the end, actually, with the spoilers as well regarding trailers. Like I said, don't watch the trailers for Black Adam. Just go watch the movie. But as far as Shazam go, I have not seen it. I want to see it. It's on my watch list, especially want to see it before the second one comes out. That looks good. I saw a trailer for that when they showed this. So that looked kind of fun and enjoyable as well. But when you have unknown superheroes, you've got to really grab people's attentions with these characters. Show that they're likable or whatever. You got to show likable characters to get people invested in the characters. That's the most important thing. And I think with the first Shazam movie, even with the trailers, even though I've only seen the trailers, doing it in the trailers is good because that's the first time that people interact with him. That they did that. You know, you got this kid who, because superhero, the concept sounds interesting, it looks fun, it kind of pulls you in that way. That's Shazam. That was a good example there. Now, moving to the MCU, which this example came out probably first before Shazam and is probably the best known, and that is the Guardians of the Galaxy. Nobody knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were when that movie came out, and or before it came out. Now everybody does, but they once again endeared you to the characters really quickly. First thing in that movie, you see Quill dancing. Well, they have a little prologue before that, but even there, you are emotionally attached to that character. You see a bit of his backstory, and then you see him dancing, you know, to the music and everything else later on. I think I've got that in the right order, because I think the dramatic part happens first. But either way, they pull you in right away. And they even did this with the trailers. I mean, that's probably the one thing that drew me into the movie, to want to go see the movie, was there's this crazy cast of characters doing crazy things in the trailer. So, once again, you got to do that. Now, some other movies that did well. Shang-Chi did it really well. We meet him and his female friend at the beginning of that movie, and you get to know them as characters, and that pulls you into the movie. So you care about them, you're invested in them. That was really good with that. Now, let's see, what else did I have on my list? Yeah, now we start moving into the not good characters, not good movies. Two examples of movies that did not do this well. One's more so than the other. Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel really didn't bring your interest into the character. Now, there was a little bit of a mystery behind who she was at the beginning, but they also didn't pull us in emotionally either with that. Now, there were other characters in that movie that we've seen other places, like Fury and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. there. What's his name? Oh my gosh, I blacked out. But these characters we had already known. We were familiar with the movie, but they didn't show up until later in the movie. So that's the thing. You got to pull people in at the beginning, and then, you know, then play out your story and whatever. Another movie that really did not do this well was The Eternals. I was not really invested in any of these characters at the beginning of the movie. Now, there's one character who I did enjoy, but they didn't really get to know him until almost halfway through the movie, and then like a scene or two later, he dies. Yeah, so that was a very poor example, and that movie really needed to do what the Guardians of the Galaxy do, because I mean, I think people have heard of Captain Marvel, but Eternals, I wasn't even familiar with them, and that really needed to pull people into to get people's attentions and invested in these characters, and that movie really didn't do it. It probably also hurt that there was such a large cast, but I think you could still do that. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy had a pretty good sized cast, not quite as big as Eternals, but they managed to do that as well. So yes, it's very important to bring your audience to get to know these characters and to care about them, and then you can move on with the story. So you've got to do this first. Now, does Black Adam do this? Yes, it does, but not with the main character. It's interesting, and I'm going to describe a little bit of the beginning of the movie. Not really any spoilers, but it's very dark and mysterious. It starts off, there's these guards. Well, they actually have a whole intro backstory for Black Adam first. It's the story behind the city. And you slowly get introduced to the characters at the beginning of this, after the introduction. There's, you're told about this. There's a group of people that's kind of taken over the city, and they're stopping and checking people, checking where they're going, checking to see, if there's any they're actually looking for somebody. And at first you're like, are these good guys? Are these bad guys? I don't know what's going on. It's kind of dark and mysterious, but you slowly get introduced to the characters. And there's one point, the one character, the guy driving the van, he says something, and it's like, okay, click. I like this guy. All right. And it goes on from there. You get to know the characters better. The next scene, they're out in the desert where they're actually their destination. They make it to their destination. And you get to really get to know these characters and get familiar with them. They're likable. They're enjoyable. And that pulls you in as you're following these characters. Now, Black Adam shows up, and said, we aren't immediately likable. He's not immediately likable whatsoever. He kicks butt like crazy, but you're introduced to him, but he's not super likable. He's mysterious. Yes, there's a big mystery behind him, and that's how he is throughout the movie. But see, that's another way to pull people in. Like, who is this character? What's his motivation? Why is he doing the certain things that he's doing? And they did really well pulling you in with his mystery. So that's another way you can bring him in. And a movie that kind of did this, older movies, not part of the MCU exactly, but like Blade. The Blade movies, at least the first one, definitely pulled you in with the mystery of who is this character. It had some other things that it pulled you into with it. But as far as characters going, they started off with a mystery with him. And that can definitely work. Like I said, even Captain Marvel, there was a bit of mystery behind the character. But they did that really well in this movie. And that's one of the reasons why it's a good movie. Is it pulls you in with the characters, one way or the other, whether it's just enjoyable characters or this mysterious character that you, throughout the course of the movie, they slowly develop his story, and you find out more about him. So yeah, that made the movie really good. Now there's surface level, it's a really good movie. Now, the movie has a message it's trying to say, and this is where it kind of, it's not a bad thing, it's not a good thing. Like, it could have been worse. It's got a message about dark heroes or anti-heroes, whatever you want to call them, and I felt like it didn't come off good at all. They just didn't stick it. Now maybe there were some scenes that were cut or whatever that would have helped it along, but it didn't feel like it stuck it. It's like one point the mom is like, dark, here darkness is what we need, and yes and no. I mean, if somebody was just dark and they didn't have any good qualities about them, they wouldn't be helping you. It's actually that's what is kind of important with a dark hero, is that there is a bit of light inside them. They choose to do the right thing. But like I said, I'm not sure where they were going with this message. Now, Batman, the Dark Knight trilogy, did really good job with that, especially the second movie. Really good job, explaining why there has to be a dark anti-hero type character. So yeah, the message was kind of muddled in the movie. That's why I say on the surface level it's really good. When you try to look deeper into the movie, it gets muddled and stuff. Now, it could be worse. They could have beaten you over the head with the message. That's a bad thing. You don't want that. And this one, as I said, it's an enjoyable enough movie. You can just watch it and enjoy it. Basically, movie has fun, interesting characters. It's got good action. Special effects weren't too bad. There are the biggest issue is there's not a lot of meat and substance behind the message of this that the movie has. Doesn't always have to be, and but it felt lacking in that department. Another couple things that were little weird nitpicky things, and I don't think this really classifies as a spoiler because they even show it like first 5-10 minutes of the movie or whatever, is there's this Eternium stuff that they're looking for, whatever, and they show, but they don't really tell, which is interesting, but they show that the Black Adam is actually weak against it, or it can hurt him. And they don't really do much with it. And the interesting thing is, this invading, occupying force in the city or whatever basically uses this stuff as like the basis for their technology. So you could see that being an issue. Maybe that will be an issue more in a sequel. But yeah, they don't do anything with that. Although that's just something happens towards the end, but yeah, it's not really dealt with much. Other than that, there's not. It feels like there was supposed to be more used with that, especially with that scene where they basically show and don't tell. Oh, sorry, much over that cold, much better, but still lingers. So yeah, it's worth the watch. It's entertaining. It's a good time. So I would definitely suggest going to watch it if you can get a chance. It's good to have just a good fun movie. And gonna go into spoiler territory here soon. So if you don't want to see anything more, head on out. I will tell you that yes, go watch the movie. It's enjoyable. If superhero movies are your cup of tea, it's not perfect, and also remember, creativity is key. And with that, we're going to move into spoiler rant time. If you don't like rants, please leave as well. Feel free to leave. But yes, spoiler time. Spoilers! Okay. If you're not gone, then I guess it's okay. You're expecting this. The worst part of the movie was the fact that they spoiled the twist in the movie in the trailers. Really, 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 really. I don't know who made that judgment call. Why would you put the twist of the story in the trailers? Now, it wasn't in all the trailers. It was only one particular where they were talking about his backstory. And his backstory, told by him, the actual factual backstory, not the recorded backstory, was the truth and also the twist in the story. Why would you do that? I could only think of one reason, and that is because they wanted us to more sympathize with this character before we watched the movie and bring us to the movie. Help us bring us to the movie. But you can't do that with the twist of the story. Oh. I was confused from the beginning. Alright, so, in the trailer they talk about he makes it point, it's like, they killed my son and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm watching this from the beginning. I'm watching the they give this the backstory, or at least the history as people know it. And I'm like, wait, wasn't there a son involved? Is this guy the son? Did he grow up that fast? What is going on? I am confused, and I was confused from the beginning. And if I hadn't seen this trailer, I wouldn't have been confused and could have just enjoyed the whole movie in its entirety. Not that I didn't enjoy it watching it, but still, there's this thing on the back of my head. What is going on? I'm confused. And then in the middle, well, no, not in the middle, in the towards the climax of the movie, it's revealed that yes, he's not the original wielder of the power. It was his son. His son got killed after giving him the power, and it's like, that's why he's so full of vengeance and emotionally charged and everything else. Why did you show this in the trailers? Yes, it was probably to get people to sympathize with him more. And like I said at the beginning of this, about pulling in audiences and getting them to like the character and whatnot. I think they could have done it differently. They could have just took some of the clips of him interacting with the kid and it would have been enough. Now, there isn't a lot of that, but I think they could have done that. I mean, I understand it was a little bit harder with this character. He's very brooding. He's dark. He's brooding. He's not exactly happy-go-lucky. But there were those moments interacting with the kid, and I think that would have been doing it, and it would kind of have the same effect. You could see that the Black Adam had sympathy, or fondness to youth, to children, to younger people, implying, yes, he had a son, something like that. But oh my gosh, I don't know what they were thinking when they did that. I feel like that person definitely needs to have a job change, or at least be thoroughly scolded. You can't. Yeah, so if you're still here and you have not seen the movie, well, I think I just spoiled it for you, but don't watch the trailers. Oh, the trailers aren't supposed to spoil the movie. I'm supposed to pull you into the movie. But yeah, when that happened in the movie, I was even more confused for a moment, and then I realized what they had done, and I was just, no, no. But yeah, it's a good movie. It's just the trailer, that one trailer really ruined the twist in the movie and was the worst part of the movie. Wasn't the movie itself, but the trailers. So anyways, I think that's it for me here at the Creation Evaluation Station. Reminding you that creativity is key.